Hello everyone. Today is April the 15th, 2021. The Hebrew calendar says it is the 3rd of Iyar, 5781. And I am at home today. And I am in the beautiful mountains of western North Carolina. It's a beautiful sunshiny day. Yesterday we were supposed to have gotten some heavy winds and rain and thunderstorms. And I love rain, but we didn't get it, so, but that's okay. But I want to say thank you to everyone who has been listening to my podcast and watching my videos. And I want to give a shout out to those where I have the names of the towns. And again, I'm not going to say every town, just the new ones that are coming up. So if I've already called out the name of your town once before, I'm still seeing it, and I thank you. And but eventually I will get to where I won't be able to do all the towns if I do each and every one every single day. So that's why I'm keeping with just the new towns. And if I mention a town or a country in your state, and I've not mentioned your specific town or area, that doesn't mean that I've not seen it. It just means I've written them down in the order that they are, so I could have, like say, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and then do one from Germany, and then do 3 from Russia, and then maybe do North Carolina and Tennessee and Florida, and then there'll be another one coming from, let's say, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I don't know all the towns of Pennsylvania, so I'm just picking the ones that I do know off the top of my head. So that's the way that I would say them. I would say them in the order that they're in. That way I'm not missing anyone. Because if I try to put them all in order, it's a possibility that I will miss someone, and I don't want to do that. So today I want to say, to give a shout out to Perrysburg, Ohio, Bladenboro, North Carolina, Centennial, Colorado, and Norton Shores, Michigan. So I hope everyone is having a wonderful and blessed day. So in our last reading, we stopped at the end of chapter 4, and there's an app that I have that gives the Bible, the New Testament and the Old Testament, in Hebrew. And I have it on my tablet, and I'm not sure how good you could see this on here, but the app is, whenever you get it pulled up, looks like that one right there. It's, and then when it pulls up, it looks like this. And so then you just hit the start button, and this gives you the names of the books of the Bible, and then you just click on which one. We'll just click on Genesis because it's the first one up there. And then it gives you the verses. And then you can click on the first verse, or whichever verse you're wanting. And it gives you the verse in Hebrew and also in the King James Version. So, and that helps me out a lot. And you don't have to have the internet for that one. It works without the internet. So now let's begin our reading today in chapter 5, verse 1. Then Moshe called to all Israel and said to them, "Listen, Israel, to the laws and rulings which I am announcing in your hearing today, so that you will learn them and take care to obey them. Adonai our God made a covenant with us at Horeb. Adonai did not make this covenant with our fathers, but with us. With us who are all of us here alive today. Adonai spoke with you face to face from the fire on the mountain. At that time I stood between Adonai and you in order to tell you what Adonai was saying. Because, on account of the fire, you were afraid and wouldn't go up onto the mountain. He said, and this starts the 10 Commandments, and each one of these commandments in the complete Jewish version, or the complete Jewish Bible, each commandment has the letter of the alphabet, the Hebrew alphabet in front of it. So starting in verse 6. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, where you lived as slaves. You are to have no other gods before me. You are not to make for yourselves a carved image or any kind of representation of anything in heaven above or on, in heaven above, on the earth beneath, or in the water below the shoreline. You are not to bow down to them or to serve them. For I, Adonai, your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sins of the parents, also the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but displaying grace to the 1,000th generation of those who love me and obey my mitzvot. Now, isn't that something that he punishes to the third and fourth generation? However, his love and his grace goes to the 1,000th generation. Verse 11, you are not to misuse the name of Adonai your God, because Adonai will not leave unpunished someone who misuses his name. Observe the day of Shabbat to set it apart as holy, as Adonai your God ordered you to do. You have 6 days to labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is a Shabbat for Adonai your God. On it you are not to do any kind of work, not you, your son, or your daughter, not your male or female slave, not your ox, your donkey, or any of your other livestock, and not the foreigners staying with you inside the gates to your property, so that your male and female servants can rest just as you do. You are to remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and Adonai your God brought you out from there with a strong hand and an outstretched arm. Therefore, Adonai your God has ordered you to keep the day of Shabbat. And I just want to give a little side note here. I consider making these videos and doing these writings, when I'm trying to write a book, and my podcast and all that, I consider that work. Even though I'm not getting paid for it, still it's a job to me. So I will not do that from sundown on Friday until sundown on Saturday. Actually, I usually don't even do anything at all on Saturday. I wait till Sunday morning. But I'm very careful that if I'm going to do anything at all on Saturday, that I don't do it before sundown. And I've noticed that just keeping that one day set aside for him, that in those 6 days I get a lot accomplished. He has me doing so many different things that I can get so much done. And I'm not tired, I'm not wore out, and he blesses you. So, and you don't have to be going out there, even mowing your yard on Shabbat. Anything that cleaning house or whatever, you can get it all done in 6 days. He will, if you will keep to that, and I'm speaking from personal experience. If you will keep it, your work to 6 days, or if you want to go up for 5 days, probably, that'd be okay too. Because if you refuse to do any work on the Sabbath, he will honor those other days, and you will get so much more accomplished. Verse 16, honor your father and mother, as Adonai your God ordered you to do, so that you will live long and have things go well with you in the land Adonai your God has given you. Do not murder. Do not commit adultery. Do not steal. Do not give false evidence against your neighbor. Do not covet your neighbor's wife. And covet means, I just felt this out, it means wanting. Do not covet your neighbor's house, his field, his male or female slave, his ox, his donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. These words Adonai spoke to your entire gathering at the mountain from fire, cloud, and thick mist, in a loud voice. Then it ceased. But he wrote them on 2 stone tablets, which he gave to me. When you heard the voice coming out of the darkness, as a mountain blazed with fire, you came to me, all the heads of your tribes and your leaders, and said, Here, Adonai our God has shown us his glory and his greatness. We have heard his voice coming from the fire, and we have seen today that God does speak with human beings, and they stay alive. But why should we keep risking death? This great fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of Adonai our God any more, we will die. For who is there of all humanity that has heard the voice of the living God speaking from the fire, as we have, and stayed alive? You go near and hear everything Adonai our God says. Then you will tell us everything Adonai our God says to you, and we will listen to it and do it. Adonai heard what you were saying when you spoke to me, and Adonai said to me, I have heard what this people has said when speaking to you, and everything they have said is good. Oh, how I wish their hearts would stay like this always, that they would fear me and obey all my mitzvot, so that it would go well with them and their children forever. Go, tell them to return to their tents. But you, stand here by me, and I will tell you all the mitzvot, laws, and rulings which you are to teach them, so that they can obey them in the land I am giving them as their possession. Therefore you are to be careful to do as Adonai your God has ordered you. You are not to deviate either to the right or to the left. You are to follow the entire way which Adonai your God has ordered you, so that you will live. Things will go well with you, and you will live long in the land you are about to possess. Chapter 6. Now this is the mitzvah, the laws and rulings which Adonai your God ordered me to teach you, for you to obey in the land you are crossing over to possess, so that you will fear Adonai your God and observe all his regulations and mitzvot that I am giving you, your child, and your grandchild, as long as you live, and so that you will have long life. Therefore listen, Israel, and take care to obey, so that things will go well with you, and so that you will increase greatly, as Adonai, the God of your ancestors, promised you by giving you a land flowing with milk and honey. Shema, Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Ehad. Hear, O Israel, Adonai your God, Adonai is one. And you are to love Adonai your God with all your heart, all your being, and all your resources. These words which I am ordering you today are to be on your heart, and you are to teach them carefully to your children. You are to talk about them when you sit at home, when you are traveling on the road, when you lie down, and when you get up. Tie them on your hand as a sign. Put them at the front of a headband around your forehead, and write them on the door frames of your house and on your gates. Now we say that in my synagogue every Shabbat. So I'm just going to read to you actually what we say. I'm going to read it in English. I'm going to say it first in Hebrew and then say it in English. Shema Israel, which means hear, O Israel. Adonai Eloheinu, the Lord our God. Adonai Ehad, the Lord is one. Baruch Shem Kavod, blessed be his name. Malhuto Le'olam Vayed. whose glorious kingdom is for eternity. And I just felt like that's what God was wanting me to tell everyone. So I'm going to get a cup of some of my coffee out of my beautiful cup. And I know I use the word beautiful a lot, but there's so many things that are beautiful. But my awesome daughter and awesome son-in-law bought this for me for Christmas. So starting in verse 10 of chapter 6, when Adonai your God has brought you into the land he swore to your ancestors, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, that he would give you, cities great and prosperous which you didn't build, houses full of all sorts of good things which you didn't fill, water cisterns dug out which you didn't dig, vineyards and olive trees which you didn't plant, and you have eaten your fill, then be careful not to forget Adonai, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, where you lived as slaves. You are to fear Adonai your God, serve him and swear by his name. You are not to follow other gods, chosen from the gods of the peoples around you, because Adonai your God, who is here with you, is a jealous God. If you do, the anger of Adonai your God will flare up against you, and he will destroy you from the face of the earth. Do not put Adonai your God to the test, as you tested him at Massah. Testing. Observe diligently the mitzvot of Adonai your God and his instructions and laws which he has given you. You are to do what is right and good in the sight of Adonai, so that things will go well with you, and you will enter and possess the good land Adonai swore to your ancestors, expelling all your enemies ahead of you, as Adonai said. Now this isn't just for the Israelites at that day. This is also for us. Someday your child will ask you, what is the meaning of the instructions, laws, and rulings which Adonai our God has laid down for you? Then you will tell your child, we were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, and Adonai brought us out of Egypt with a strong hand. Adonai worked great and terrible signs and wonders against Egypt, Pharaoh and all his household before our very eyes. He brought us out from there in order to bring us to the land he had sworn to our ancestors that he would give us. Adonai ordered us to observe all these laws, to fear Adonai our God, always for our own good, so that he might keep us alive as we are today. It will be righteousness for us if we are careful to obey all these mitzvot before Adonai our God, just as he ordered us to do. Chapter 7. Adonai your God is going to bring you into the land you will enter in order to take possession of it, and he will expel many nations ahead of you, the Hittite, Girgashite, Amorite, Canaanite, Perizzi, Hava, and Yebusi. 7 nations bigger and stronger than you. When he does this, when Adonai your God hands them over ahead of you, and you defeat them, you are to destroy them completely. Do not make any covenant with them. Show them no mercy. Don't intermarry with them. Don't give your daughter to his son, and don't take his daughter for your son. For he will turn your children away from following me in order to serve other gods. If this happens, the anger of Adonai will flare up against you, and he will quickly destroy you. No, treat them this way. Break down their altars, smash their steady stones to pieces, cut down their sacred poles, and burn up their carved images completely. For you are a people set apart as holy for Adonai your God. Adonai your God has chosen you out of all the peoples on the face of the earth to be his own unique treasure. Adonai didn't set his heart on you or choose you because you numbered more than any other people. On the contrary, you were the fewest of all peoples. Rather, it was because Adonai loved you and because he wanted to keep the oath which he had sworn to your ancestors, that Adonai brought you out with a strong hand and redeemed you from a life of slavery under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. From this you can know that Adonai your God is indeed God, the faithful God who keeps his covenant and extends grace to those who love him and observe his mitzvot to 1,000 generations. But he repays those who hate him to their face and destroys them. He will not be slow to deal with someone who hates him. He will repay him to his face. Therefore, you are to keep the mitzvot, laws, and rulings which I am giving you today, and obey them. Now, just a little side note about standing stones and sacred poles. So I just looked up standing stones, and what those are they were like, well, we know about Stonehenge. Stonehenge is considered a standing stone. And they were used to, and I have not gone to a lot of research on this, so there might be a lot more out there that I don't know, that whenever I start really doing deep research into the book of Deuteronomy, I will be, I'll find out, probably more information and give that to you at that time. But basically, they were used to get special gifts and used in magic, and used to call their gods from. I also watched a video on YouTube last night from the History Channel, and it was their Ancient Mysteries program, and it was talking about voodoo. And in that, they mentioned sacred poles and how those are used in voodoo. And it showed people in their voodoo rituals, things that they were doing, and they dance around the poles, kind of sort of similar to like pole dancing. If you've ever watched a movie where there was someone in a strip club was doing a pole dance. And yes, I've not watched porn, but this was, like a TV show or a movie that I was watching, and whatever was, part of the plot was where they had entered a strip club and somebody was doing pole dance. So but without the filthy part of it. But it's basically same kind of concept. But what they're doing, whether they go in the voodoo or anybody that's doing this with the sacred poles in these paganistic rituals, is that they are calling on the other gods, and that's how it's a way of connecting with them. So that's why he doesn't want us doing anything with sacred poles or standing stones. So like I said, whenever I go and start doing deep research on the book of Deuteronomy, I will get more information and be sharing it with you at that time. So now we're going to start in verse 12 of chapter 7. Because you are listening to these rulings, keeping and obeying them, Adonai your God will keep with you the covenant and mercy that he swore to your ancestors. He will love you, bless you, and increase your numbers. He will also bless the fruit of your body and the fruit of your ground, your grain, wine, olive oil, and the young of your cattle and sheep, in the land he swore to your ancestors that he would give you. You will be blessed more than all other peoples. There will not be a sterile male or female among you, and the same with your livestock. Adonai will remove all illness from you. He will not afflict you with any of Egypt's dreadful diseases, which you have known. Instead, he will lay them on those who hate you. You are to devour all the peoples that Adonai your God hands over to you. That doesn't mean eat them. That means just get rid of them. Show them no pity, and do not serve their gods, because that will become a trap for you. If you think to yourselves, these nations outnumber us, how can we dispossess them? Nevertheless, you are not to be afraid of them. You are to remember well what Adonai your God did to Pharaoh and all of Egypt, the great ordeals which you yourself saw, and the signs, wonders, strong hand, and outstretched arm by which Adonai your God brought you out. Adonai will do the same to all the peoples of whom you are afraid. Moreover, Adonai your God will send the hornet among them until those who are left and those who hide themselves perish ahead of you. You are not to be frightened of them, because Adonai your God is there with you, a God great and fearsome. Adonai your God will expel those nations ahead of you, little by little. You can't put an end to them all at once, or the wild animals will become too numerous for you. Nevertheless, Adonai your God will give them over to you, sending one disaster after another upon them until they have been destroyed. He will hand their kings over to you, and you will wipe out their name from under heaven. None of them will be able to stand against you until you have destroyed them. You are to burn up completely the carved statues of their gods. Don't be greedy for the silver or gold on them. Don't take it with you, or you will be trapped by it, for it is abhorrent to Adonai your God. Don't bring something abhorrent into your house, or you will share in the curse that is on it. So there are curses on items. I've heard that recently, and I wasn't sure if that's just what somebody was just saying, but it's true. So even like these pagan statues that we see, like of Buddha and these tribal masks and all these things, there are actually curses on them, and there are demons attached to them. So whenever you bring them into your house, you are bringing those curses and demons on them. Instead, you are to detest it completely, loathe it utterly, for it is set apart for destruction. Chapter 8. All the mitzvot I am giving you today, you are to take care to obey, so that you will live, increase your numbers, enter and take possession of the land Adonai swore about to your ancestors. You are to remember everything of the way in which Adonai led you these 40 years in the desert, humbling and testing you in order to know what was in your heart, whether you would obey his mitzvot or not. He humbled you, allowing you to become hungry, and then fed you with manna, which neither you nor your ancestors had ever known, to make you understand that a person does not live on food alone, but on everything that comes from the mouth of Adonai. And that's just interesting to note that, and I've got to make a mark. I don't like marking in my Bible. There's ways that you don't mark in your Bible, but God has, since I've gotten this one, he's had me marking in it, underlining things and highlighting things, and even writing things. So, as long as it's something that God's telling you to do, go for it. But in verse 3, it says that a person does not live on food alone, but on everything that comes from the mouth of Adonai. So I'm just going to take a moment and underline that while he is telling me to do that, so that I do not forget that. Because this is something that Yeshua said when he was being tempted by Satan. During these 40 years, the clothing you were wearing didn't grow old and your feet didn't swell up. Now, isn't that awesome? Our clothes wear out so fast today. But 40 years, and I'm not sure if you could, let me adjust my shirt, my camera. So, this shirt right here, just think of it as that it's, look how, because I've not had it very long, just about a month, but look how new it is, how new looking it is. And 40 years from now, it would still look the same. That's God, because it doesn't matter how often, even though you may not wear it much, it's going to still wear out over time. And these people they didn't have tons and tons of clothes like we have today. But their clothes that they did have, they never wore out. They were still just as new looking as this today. Isn't that awesome? And also, whenever you're doing a lot of walking, your feet get tired and they swell. But not these people. They never did. Her feet never did swell on them. And I'm sure they didn't get tired in their walking, because they would walk for days without stopping at times. And it doesn't. I've not read in here yet that they never got tired during their walking, but I'm pretty sure that they did not until it came time for them to stop. Verse 5, think deeply about it. Adonai was disciplining you just as a man disciplines his child. So obey the mitzvot of Adonai your God, living as he directs and fearing him. For Adonai your God is bringing you into a good land, a land with streams, springs, and water welling up from the depths and valleys and on hillsides. It is a land of wheat and barley, grapevines, fig trees, and pomegranates, a land of olive oil and honey, a land where you will eat food in abundance and lack nothing in it, a land where the stones contain iron and the hills can be mined for copper. So you will eat and be satisfied, and you will bless Adonai your God for the good land he has given you. So back in Egypt, they actually had to make irrigation streams for their crops. And here they don't. They're not going to have to make any irrigations, because the way Verse 11, be careful not to forget Adonai your God, but not obeying his mitzvot, rulings, and regulations that I am giving you today. Otherwise, after you have eaten and are satisfied, built fine houses and lived in them, and increased your herds, flocks, silver, gold, and everything else you own, you will become proud-hearted, forgetting Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, where you lived as slaves, who led you through the vast and fearsome desert, with its poisonous snakes, scorpions, and waterless, thirsty ground, who brought water out of flint rock for you, who fed you in the desert with manna, unknown to your ancestors, all the while humbling and testing you in order to do you good in the end. You will think to yourself, my own power and the strength of my own hand have gotten me this wealth. No, you are to remember Adonai your God, because it is he who has given you the power to get wealth, in order to confirm his covenant, which he swore to your ancestors, as is happening even today. If you forget Adonai your God, follow other gods, and serve and worship them, I am warning you in advance today that you will certainly perish. You will perish just like the nations that Adonai is causing to perish ahead of you, because you will not have heeded the voice of Adonai your God. And God just told me this to tell everyone that there's really only one mitzvah, only one commandment, and that is love. If you love God, you will be wanting to do everything the way He wants you to. You'll want to live His way. So you'll always ask Him, what should I do about this? This is coming up. What should I do? What should I do today? And He will tell you, and He will guide you. So you don't have to try to remember, oh my gosh, well, what is the rule about this and what is the rule about that? Just, and the same thing with the commandments. If you love everyone, you won't want to hurt them. You will not want to kill. You will not want to steal from someone. You will not want to commit adultery, because whenever you commit adultery, then you're going to hurt the spouse of the other person, and because you love that other person, you don't want to hurt them at all. You don't want them to be sad at all. So it all boils down to just one commandment: love. Chapter 9. Listen, Israel, you are to cross the Jordan today, to go in and dispossess nations greater and stronger than you, great cities fortified up to the sky, a people great and tall, the Anakim, whom you know about and of whom you have heard it said, who can stand before the descendants of Anak? Therefore, understand today that Adonai your God will Himself cross ahead of you as a devouring fire. He will destroy them and bring them down before you. Thus you will drive them out and cause them to perish quickly, as Adonai has said to you. Don't think to yourself after your God has pushed them out ahead of you, it is to reward my righteousness that Adonai has brought me in to take possession of this land. No, it is because these nations have been so wicked that Adonai is driving them out ahead of you. It is not because of your righteousness or because your heart is so upright that you go in to take possession of the land, but to punish the wickedness of these nations that Adonai your God is driving them out ahead of you, and also to confirm the word which Adonai swore to your ancestors, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Therefore, understand that it is not for your righteousness that Adonai your God is giving you this good land to possess. So now I wonder, if these nations have been righteous, if God would have allowed them to stay in the land along with the Israelites. I don't know. And maybe that might be mentioned later on in here in the Bible. I don't know. We may never know that answer. But it's... For you are a stiff-necked people. In other words, they're not listening. Remember, don't forget how you made Adonai your God angry in the desert. From the day you left the land of Egypt till you arrived at this place, you have been rebelling against Adonai. Also in Horeb you made Adonai angry. Adonai was angry enough with you to destroy you. I had gone up to the mountain to receive the stone tablets, the tablets on which was written the covenant Adonai had made with you. I stayed on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights, without eating food or drinking water. Then Adonai gave me the 2 stone tablets inscribed by the finger of God, and on them was written every word Adonai had said to you, from the fire on the mountain the day of the assembly. Yes, after 40 days and nights, Adonai gave me the 2 stone tablets, the tablets of the covenant. Then Adonai said to me, get up and hurry down from here, because your people, whom you led out of Egypt, have become corrupt. So quickly have they turned aside from the way I ordered them to follow. They have made themselves a metal image. Moreover, Adonai said to me, I have seen this people, and what a stiff-necked people they are. Let me alone, so that I could put an end to them and blot out their name from under heaven. I will make out of you a nation bigger and stronger than they. I came down from the mountain. The mountain was blazing fire, and the 2 tablets of the covenant were in my 2 hands. I looked, and there, you had sinned against Adonai your God. You had made yourselves a metal calf. You had turned aside quickly from the way Adonai had ordered you to follow. I seized the 2 tablets, threw them out of my 2 hands, and broke them before your eyes. Then I fell down before Adonai, as I had the first time, for 40 days and nights, during which time I neither ate food nor drank water, all because of the sin you committed by doing what was evil in the sight of Adonai, and thus provoking him. I was terrified that because of how angry Adonai was at you, of how heatedly displeased he was, that he would destroy you. But Adonai listened to me that time too. In addition, Adonai was very angry with Aharon and would have destroyed him. But I prayed for Aharon also at the same time. I took your sin, the calf you had made, and burned it up in the fire, beat it to pieces, and ground it up still smaller until it was as fine as dust. Then I threw its dust into the stream coming down from the mountain. Again at Taverah, Massah, and Kibroth HaTaavah, you made Adonai angry. And when Adonai sent you off from Kadesh Barnea by saying, Go up and take possession of the land I have given you, you rebelled against the order of Adonai your God. You neither trusted him nor heeded what he said. You have been rebelling against Adonai from the day I first knew you. So I fell down before Adonai for those 40 days and nights, and I lay there, because Adonai had said he would destroy you. I prayed to Adonai. I said, Adonai Elohim, don't destroy your people, your inheritance. You redeemed them through your greatness. You brought them out of Egypt with a strong hand. Remember your servants Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Don't focus on the stubbornness of this people, or on their wickedness, or on their sin. Otherwise, the land you brought us out of will say, It is because Adonai wasn't able to bring them into the land he promised them, and because he hated them, that he has brought them out to kill them in the desert. But in fact, they are your people, your inheritance, whom you brought out by your great power and your outstretched arm. Chapter 10. At that time Adonai said to me, Cut yourself 2 stone tablets like the first ones. Come up to me on the mountain and make yourself an ark of wood. I will inscribe on the tablets the words that were on the first tablets, which you broke, and you are to put them in the ark. So I made an ark of acacia wood and cut 2 stone tablets like the first, then climbed the mountain with the 2 tablets in my hand. He inscribed the tablets with the same inscription as before, the 10 words which Adonai proclaimed to you from the fire on the mountain the day of the assembly. And Adonai gave them to me. I turned, came down the mountain, and put the tablets in the ark I had made, and there they remain, as Adonai ordered me. The people of Israel traveled from the wells of Bnei Yaakon to Moserah, where Aharon died and was buried, and Eleazar his son took his place, serving in the office of Cohen. From there they traveled to Gidgod, and from Gidgod to Yotvotah, a region with running streams. At that time Adonai set apart the tribe of Levi to carry the ark for the covenant of Adonai, and to stand before Adonai to serve him, and to bless it in his name. as they still do today. This is why Levi has no share or inheritance with his brothers. Adonai is his inheritance, as Adonai your God had said to him. I stayed on the mountain 40 days and nights, as previously, and Adonai listened to me that time too. Adonai would not destroy you. Then Adonai said to me, Get up and go on your way at the head of the people, so that they can enter and take possession of the land I swore to their ancestors that I would give them. So now, Israel, all that Adonai your God asks from you is to fear Adonai your God, follow all his ways, love him, and serve Adonai your God with all your heart and all your being, to obey for your own good the mitzvot and regulations of Adonai, which I am giving you today. See the sky, the heaven beyond the sky, the earth and everything on it all belong to Adonai your God. Only Adonai took enough pleasure in your ancestors to love them and choose their descendants after them, yourselves above all peoples, as he still does today. Therefore, circumcise the foreskin of your heart, and don't be stiff-necked any longer. For Adonai your God is a God of gods and Lord of lords, the great, mighty, and awesome God, who has no favors and accepts no bribes. He secures justice for the orphan and the widow. He loves the foreigner, giving him food and clothing. Therefore, you are to love the foreigner, since you are foreigners in the land of Egypt. You are to fear Adonai your God, serve him, cling to him, and swear by his name. He is your praise, and he is your God, who has done for you these great and awesome things, which you have seen with your own eyes. Your ancestors went down into Egypt with only 70 people, but now Adonai your God has made your numbers as many as the stars in the sky. And so God just also told me this to tell everyone that it's just like basically a reminder that they come from the reason why they were chosen was because Abraham, when he was living in Ur of the Chaldees, that was a very pagan nation, but he chose not to worship these idols, but to worship the one and only true God. So because he had enough boldness to stand up against the wickedness and to follow God when everybody around him was not. That's why God decided to make him a great and powerful nation, and to use him to bring the light to the nations, to uncover their eyes and show them that there's only one God, and that these other gods that they are worshiping are actually demons. So yes, they were hearing them speak, but they were demons, and it just seems like you are in control of the demons at this time when you're doing this. You call out their name and you ask them to do something, and then oh yes, they come and they do it, and they act like beacons of light and everything, till they get you underneath their control. And once they have you controlled, they are doing everything you have, and they are controlling you. You are no longer controlling them. Like that little cartoon alien, Mr. Ed I was telling you about the other day. Whenever he went into their ear, he controlled everything that was doing. So it's the same thing. Chapter 11. Therefore, you are to love Adonai your God and always obey his commission, regulations, rulings, and mitzvot. Today it is you I am addressing, not your children who haven't known or experienced the discipline of Adonai your God, his greatness, his strong hand, his outstretched arm, his signs, and his actions which he did in Egypt to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and to his entire country. Oh, he just told me something else to tell y'all. That to go and watch that video of the History Channel called Ancient Mysteries about voodoo. It is very, very eye-opening. Even though it's talking about just the voodoo religion, it's all of these pagan. This is just how all of the pagan religions actually work. Verse 4. They didn't experience what he did to Egypt's army, horses and chariots, how Adonai overwhelmed them with the water of the Sea of Suf as they were pursuing you, so that they remain destroyed to this day. They didn't experience what he kept doing for you in the desert until you arrived at this place, or what he did to Datan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, the descendant of Reuben, how the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up, along with their households, tents, and every living thing in their company, there in front of all of Israel. But you have seen with your own eyes all these great deeds of Adonai. Therefore you are to keep every mitzvah I am giving you today, so that you will be strong enough to go in and take possession of the land you are crossing over to conquer, and so that you will live long in the land Adonai swore to give to your ancestors and their descendants, a land flowing with milk and honey. For the land you are entering, in order to take possession of it, isn't like the land of Egypt. There you would sow your seed and had to use your feet to operate its irrigation system, as in a vegetable garden. This is what I was talking about earlier about the irrigations. Verse 11, but the land you are crossing over to take possession of is a land of hills and valleys, which soaks up water when rain falls from the sky. It is a land Adonai your God cares for. The eyes of Adonai your God are always on it, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And that verse 12, it is a land Adonai your God cares for. The eyes of Adonai your God are always on it. He had me underline that. I feel very strongly that, and I've also heard this said as well, that the land of Israel is actually where the Garden of Eden was at. I feel like that because why else would he want to take all these many people, put them in this little tiny spot? This whole earth, there's plenty of places he could put them on where they would have more room. But there's this one specific spot that they had to be on. He could put them on Antarctica. You know, there's nobody lives in Antarctica. Well, I know there's scientists and stuff that live there. But he could have fixed the land of Antarctica where they could have lived on it. Or Australia. Look how big Australia is. Or Africa. Or the United States. Anywhere. You know, but this one little stretch of land, they had to go and take over. So that's my thoughts. We might find out later on in our reading that that's correct. But so far it's just biology. Verse 13. So if you listen carefully to my mitzvot, which I am giving you today, to love Adonai your God and serve him with all your heart and all your being, then, says Adonai, I will give your land its rain at the right seasons, including the early fall rains and the late spring rains, so that you can gather in your wheat, new wine, and olive oil. And I will give your fields grass for your livestock, with the result that you will eat and be satisfied. But be careful not to let yourselves be seduced, so that you turn aside, serving other gods and worshiping them. If you do, the anger of Adonai will blaze up against you. He will shut up the sky, so that there will be no rain. The ground will not yield its produce, and you will quickly pass away from the good land Adonai has given you. Therefore, you are to store up these words of mine in your heart and in all your being. Tie them on your hand as a sign. Put them at the front of a headband around your forehead. Teach them carefully to your children, talking about them when you sit at home, when you're traveling on the road, when you lie down, and when you get up. That's something else that we also say every Shabbat in my synagogue. And I don't know if you've ever noticed Jewish men and young boys, and I'm talking about like teenage boys, where they have this leather band. They have like a box up here on their head, and then there's like a band that comes and wraps around their head. That's they call it tefillin, and that is actually like a little scroll that has these words in it. So it's in that box, and so, and whenever it talks about the mark of the beast, it's going to be on your hand and on your forehead. It's something very opposite this. So, and I don't know exactly what that is. I may never know before. Just if Yeshua does not rapture me out of here, and I die before, if he doesn't come back before I die, I may never know this information. But everything he is doing, Satan is doing, is opposite of what God does. And the Antichrist will be doing things that look like what Yeshua was doing, but it'll be in an opposite direction. So the mark of the beast is very similar to this right here, but instead of it being to worship God, it's to worship Satan. Verse 20, and write them on the door frames of your house and on your gates, so that you and your children will live long on the land. And I swore to your ancestors that he would give them for as long as there is sky above the earth. For if you will take care to obey all these mitzvot I am giving you, to do them, to love Adonai your God, to follow all his ways, and to cling to him, then Adonai will expel all these nations ahead of you, and you will dispossess nations bigger and stronger than you are. Wherever the sole of your footsteps will be yours, your territory will extend from the desert to the Lebanon, and from the river, the Euphrates River, to the western sea. No one will be able to withstand you. Adonai your God will place the fear and dread of you on all the land you step on, as he told you. See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you listen to the mitzvot of Adonai your God that I am giving you today, and the curse, if you don't listen to the mitzvot of Adonai your God, but turn aside from the way I am ordering you today and follow other gods that you have not known. Excuse me. When Adonai your God brings you into the land you are entering in order to take possession of it, you are to put the blessing on Mount Gerizim and the curse on Mount Aval. I wonder why. Verse 30, both are west of the Jordan in the direction of the sunset, in the land of the Canaani living in the Arava, across from Gilgal, near the pistachio trees of Moreh. For you are to cross the Jordan to enter and take possession of the land Adonai your God has given you. You are to own it and live in it, and you are to take care to follow all the laws and rulings I am setting before you today. Okay, just a little side note here. A little note that's in here in my study Bible. It says that Moshe reminds the people that both a blessing and a curse lay before them. A blessing if they choose to obey Adonai's command, a curse if they chose to reject them. Israel was physically positioned between Mount Gerizim, blessing, and Mount Aval, curses, when this statement was made. They could tangibly envision the choice they had. But I'll go into deeper deeper research on that whenever I have more information whenever I research this book more. So that is the end of today's video. Please hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell so that you will be notified of future videos. As of the taping of this video, I have not yet posted anything on a new playlist that God is wanting me to do. But by the time you are watching this, it should already be up. God is wanting me to start also, along with this reading, start videos on where I go through the parshas and give you a little information about that every day. It's like a prophetic word for each day. I'm not fortune telling. I'm not practicing the occult or anything like that. But each part of this Bible, and I will go into more detail later on in the videos, of the first 5 books of Noah, first 5 books of the Torah, are they are set up like to you can read a certain portion and kind of figure out what is going on that day. It may or may not be something that's going to affect you specifically, personally that day. It could be like affecting your country or the world, but it's something that God is doing. And I wanted to start it whenever He told me to do it. I was like, well, I'll start it at the beginning of the parshas, later on this year. And He said no, that I need to start it now. And I was like, well, I don't really know, how to do this, and how to. I don't know how to figure out what each day is saying, and so He is teaching me this week, and the one is about the Zarat, which is something that I don't see how that can apply to us prophetically for each day, but He is teaching me that. And so it's similar to what Rabbi Griffin is doing on the Aliyah Day, but not exactly. He goes into much more deeper detail of what it's saying, and but I'm taking a little different route. You'll see the difference, but I still want you to watch his videos as well. So I hope you have a wonderful and blessed rest of your day, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.